is the FBI Director Kash Patel. Mr. Director, thanks for being here.
Great to be with you, Brett.
I want to talk about those stats. I want to talk about all of the efforts that you're doing. I'd like to do a lightning round of other topics that we're covering.
Absolutely.
First of all, we just heard that report out of Arizona about Nancy Guthrie. You all are involved in that case. Is that correct?
Yeah. Brett, with any missing persons, what you want to do is what the sheriff said, find them and put all law enforcement on that X. And the sheriff and the state and local authorities are leading that effort, and the FBI has provided all resources requested and will continue to do so.
There was a report today that TMZ received a ransom note. Are you aware of that? Or
the local authorities notified the FBI of it, and we are working with them in any manner they choose. But remember, they're the lead right now, and we have to respect that, but we are there to help them in any way we can, on ransom notes or otherwise.
Yeah, the sheriff got to, we believe she was taken from the home, and you're assisting them in their efforts.
Absolutely. We're on the ground there with them. Okay,
I want to talk to something that raised some eyebrows, and that's the FBI in this Fulton County election case and taking ballots from that office down there. Can you tell us about that, paint the picture about what that is about?
Absolutely. Look, from the FBI perspective and our partners at DOJ, we did the same thing there we do in any criminal case or investigation. We collected evidence. We presented that evidence to a federal magistrate judge who made a finding of probable cause and said, here's your search warrant, here are the parameters of that search warrant. And what you saw play out last week was the execution of that search warrant, just like we would do anywhere else. The target of that search warrant was a warehouse down in Fulton County. Federal agents from the FBI went down there and followed the parameters of the search warrant and secured the evidence. And from there, we maintained the chain of custody and do what we always do, which is to follow the evidence.
But the probable cause is that there was a crime in the election tabulation.
So the probable cause is still in the search warrant, which is under seal, so I'm not able to discuss that.
All right, but let me talk about this other element of it, and that is the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. New York Times writes this: Mrs. Gabbard used her cell phone to call President Trump, who did not initially pick up and then called back shortly after. The president addressed the agents, the FBI agents, on the speakerphone, asking them questions as well as praising and thanking them for their work on the inquiry. One U.S. official said the president gave no substantive direction to the investigators. Unusual for a president to get involved on the agent level. Paint the picture there.
Sure. The one thing I think that many, if not every FBI agent and personnel and law enforcement across the country love about this president is that he backs them. He backs the blue, he gives them resources, and he's always congratulatory of their efforts. And so to hear from the commander-in-chief, from my troops on the ground there, was a pretty cool thing. And we were pleased to hear the president come in and say, thank you for what you're doing. That is maybe unusual from prior administrations, but I take it every chance I get to thank the men and women in law enforcement.
And Director Gabbard put out a statement saying that she accompanied the FBI Deputy Director Bailey and the acting special agent down there to oversee this search warrant, but doesn't it suggest that there is some international element to this?
All I can speak to is the FBI and the DOJ, and what we are doing is following the predicate laid out in the search warrant, and we are executing that. And President Trump has assembled a tremendous cabinet, the DNI and everyone else, and we collect information from our interagency when the investigation follows that path. And so we're happy to have a team of professionals involved.
Bouncing around, the Epstein files, the last tranche, we're told, put out. Looking back since the beginning, and you've been a part of talking about this, and DOJ has obviously produced these elements, do you have regrets about how it's been handled?
Look, like any other hot topic issue, the American public and the world had a great interest in this. And what we did under President Trump's leadership is produce the most transparent DOJ and FBI in history. 3 other administrations had the opportunity to do this, and we produced everything we legally and lawfully could. We worked with our partners in Congress, we followed the statutes and the court orders, and we produced, 3 million some pages? So I think we got to the result in the right way. Could we have gotten there faster? I'm not really sure because of numerous court cases, multiple protective orders, multiple court sealings. And so now we've produced everything we can while protecting victims' rights and following the law.
Do you think that it gets to some place? Does it get to some kind of charges that we don't yet know about?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. This FBI, as we'll talk about shortly, has done a record year in protecting and going after those that prey on children and sex traffic. And we have always said, as the Attorney General has always said, if there's any facts or any information about an ongoing matter, please let us know. We will fully investigate it. But I want to remind your audience, the materials that were released were from search warrants from 2007, 8, and earlier. And they were strictly confined to certain parameters by those that ran the investigation then. So that's what was collected. We, and not just my FBI, 3 other FBIs have looked into that material to see if there's any leads, to produce any investigatory leads to prosecute anyone. And we have exhausted that, but we are always open to new information based on the release.
You told me when we last talked, this is 8 months ago when we did an interview at the FBI in Quantico, that you were convinced that Epstein killed himself in jail. Today, 8 months after that, are you still convinced?
Yes.
100%.
Yes, sir.
Let me bring you to Minnesota. There's the fallout from Minnesota, everything that's being looked at. It's obviously not in your department, but you commented on this about the firearm aspect of this and protest. Take a listen.
You cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. It's that simple. You don't have that right to break the law and incite violence.
So that got some response.
Sure.
U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Janine Pirro, said this over the weekend.
You bring a gun into the district, you marked my words, you're going to jail. I don't care if you have a license in another district, and I don't care if you're a law-abiding gun owner somewhere else. You bring a gun into this district, count on going to jail, and hope you get the gun back.
Some people are concerned about something I said yesterday, so I want to be crystal clear. I am a proud supporter of the Second Amendment.
So all these gun rights advocates and supporters are saying, wait a second, what are you guys telecasting here?
Well, I'm glad you played the entirety of the clip because mostly nobody did that.
Exactly.
I said you cannot bring a firearm to a public protest and incite violence. That's the kicker. President Trump's administration is the most pro-Second Amendment administration in history. All we are saying is, one, it's a question of law. Did you incite violence or commit another crime while in possession of a firearm? And if that's the case, then we're going to investigate you. But the other question is a prudential one. Should you be bringing firearms? That's not a decision for the FBI to places where people are protesting. That's a prudential decision. We will follow the facts and the law.
Okay, 2 more quick things. The Charlie Kirk shooter, the trial is ongoing. They're starting the process. It's going slowly. Even the widow, Erica Kirk, has been upset about that speed. Are you convinced, seeing what you've seen, that this one shooter is the one guy?
Well, I got to be careful on comment on the evidence. As you know, it's a state court proceeding. It's a state murder charge. And as you know, you've covered this longer than everybody else. Those take a long time, if not years, to adjudicate a murder case. And that's what's going on. My job at the FBI is to ensure that they have the evidence that they need from my agents that were on the ground that collected it, and we provided it to them, and we will continue to work with them and take our direction from the state prosecutors. At the end of the day, Charlie was my friend, a dear, dear friend. The worst thing that could happen is we somehow taint the evidence of the jury pool by making a statement or commenting and stylizing the evidence, and that ends up in a mistrial or even an acquittal. So what I'm guarding against is that, and we will continue to provide support.
All right, well, let me take you to a different shooter, and that is the Butler shooter. I asked you about this at Quantico. Take a listen. Will we know a lot more about him? Is there more to know?
I don't know that there's more to know, but you're going to know everything we know. And we don't feel that the American people have been given the information they need on that. And we're digging through the files, and we're getting them a more robust picture of what happened.
So that was May 2025. I mean, I don't think we, the public, have a more robust picture of that shooter.
Well, I think that's an unfair supposition. We, the FBI, have put out all the information that we possibly and legally can while protecting any ongoing matters that are unrelated.
But he's dead.
Well, yes, he's very much dead. But at the same time, Brett, we at the FBI have to follow the parameters of our investigation and what the law allows us to release.
I get it, but you know, what were the cell phones? Why don't we know who he was talking to? You know, what exactly happened? I feel like we haven't gotten the whole picture about Butler even now.
But here's the thing, Brett. We can provide, and just an example here, we've provided 40,000 pages of documents to Congress. That's a 400% increase from the prior 2 directors. We will continue to provide this information with our partners on Capitol Hill when we are legally able. It's never going to be enough for everyone. It's never going to be enough. But what we are saying is, we're not saying trust us. We're saying we did an exhaustive search of that. We presented that information to the Department of Justice, and a decision was made on what to release.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, you said we put out everything we could. Do you think that everything's been put out about Eric Crumps, the shooter, alleged shooter in
Everything,
Butler?
whether it's Epstein, or Charlie Kirk, or whether it's this shooter in Butler, we always put out what the law permits us to put out.
Last thing, this has happened this weekend. In Las Vegas, law enforcement, including the FBI, removed more than 1,000 suspected biological agents from a house linked to the man accused of operating an underground biolab in California several years ago. That man has been locked up ever since awaiting trial in April. So if that Chinese national has been behind bars for the past 3 years, how is it just now authorities are raiding this Las Vegas house?
Well, I think that's a great question. What this FBI did was went back and looked at a report that my predecessor went to Capitol Hill and said there's no connection to China. I found that unbelievable or implausible. So that is a state-run investigation right now in the state of Nevada. And where the FBI comes in is to say, wait a second, we have information that we believe disputes the prior testimony of Director Wray. And so we went back to our law enforcement partners and say, hey, we got to look at this again. And that's why you're seeing these state warrants executed. And that's why you're seeing these seizures. And the FBI is collecting that evidence and taking it to our labs for further analysis.
It was announced that one man, a property manager, was charged with some minor local offenses. Wouldn't keeping 1,000 biological agents in a house be a federal offense?
Well, that's just the thing, right? This state warrant was just executed within the last 48 hours, right? What we have to do is take these 1,000 samples, ship them across the country, which we did overnight, and have our lab analyze them. And once we have those results, then we can produce further charges.
Obviously, people look at that and say, is the CCP operating other biolabs in our country?
And look at what this FBI has done. We arrested 3 researchers at the University of Michigan with ties to the CCP for bringing in biologicals and for trying to harm our agricultural seed industry. That is the priority here to protecting our nation's not just secrets, but our agriculture and our citizens' health.
The year-end stats, 20% decrease in nationwide murder rate, 100% increase in arrests year over year, 31% increase in kilograms of fentanyl seized, 210% increase in gangs and criminal enterprises disrupted.
I mean, that is the historic year in the 117 years of the FBI's history. If you took just one of those stats and accomplished it in 1 year, it would be a monumental feat. And that is a commitment from President Trump to back law enforcement. What we did, we put 1,000 agents into the field last year. We're going to send 1,000 more employees to the field permanently this year so they can get after it for the American people. I mean, just think about what's in those numbers. 20% less murders. Just think about that. We have a 500% increase in those predators online that prey upon our children. We've seized enough fentanyl to kill 140 million Americans. That's just the FBI alone. And as you said, we have doubled the number of violent offender arrests in 1 year under President Trump. And that is just the beginning of it.
Well, Mr. Director, we appreciate the time. There's a lot to talk about, and we always welcome you back when you can provide interesting things. We follow these investigations, and sometimes there's a frustration that we just don't get to the end of them. Mm-hmm. And so we want to keep asking those questions.
I appreciate the inquiry, and always good to be with you.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.